Okay, so I'm now gonna lead you in a practice to heal some of the hurt that may have been felt because someone has spoken to you or acted in a way that you felt very um, pained by it. So I'd like to invite you now to place your hand on your chest. Wherever you feel that discomfort may be in your chest. And then closing your eyes and taking 3 beautiful deep breaths. A lot of times when we feel hurt, there is an area in our body, especially the chest area, that feels a sensation of pain, which is the tightening of the muscles close to our heart. So we place our hand here to acknowledge that feeling and breathe into it, nursing, caring for the space that is recorded, that pain, that hurt. Breathing kindness into it. Putting aside narratives or judgments about what was said, and just focus on healing this pain that is felt in your body. It could also be anxiousness. And just breathe kindness into it. And sensing into that space where you can feel the warmth of your hand. Giving yourself care, love that's non-judgmental. Just as you would to a child that may have fallen over and injured his knee, you would help him and brush off any dirt that may be on his knee, and giving a very soothing massage, a tender touch. So that's what we're going to do with this pain that may be felt in the chest. When you feel your chest relaxing, then you can now place your hand on your lap and use the phrase, "May I be well and happy." And repeat that in your mind over and over again at the speed of your choice. May I be well and happy. May I be well and happy. Empowering ourselves to create our own happiness. Dissolving the pain with goodwill that we send to ourselves. Sensing your breathing as you use the words, may I be well and happy. And to remove any aggression that may be present, as we may feel a compelling urge to want to fight back, is to use the phrase, may I be kind and gentle. May I be kind and gentle. And this is to break the chain of hurt that could be recurring, driven by our reaction. So using the phrase, may I be kind and gentle, breaks the chain of hurting each other. And coming back to apply the first phrase, may I be well and happy. May I be well and happy. May I be well and happy. May I be kind and gentle. May I be kind and gentle. And to strengthen our mind to be resilient, we use the phrase, may I be at ease with whatever arises. May I be at ease with whatever arises. And this helps us to be centered and grounded, to not react to someone's harshness or rudeness or unpleasant actions, to be able to hold our space. May I be at ease with whatever arises. Now using the phrase, may I be well and happy. May I be well and happy. It also helps us to let go of expectations of others creating happiness for us. Instead, we empower ourselves to create our own happiness by strengthening our mind, dissolving the hurt and anger. So use the phrase, may I be well and happy. Now just dropping your focus onto your breath. Wherever you feel your breath is present, And focusing on this beautiful breath with a sense of gratitude that we're alive and we have a choice in our response to whatever people say or do with us. And dropping into our breath gives us that sense of centeredness and groundedness. Sometimes people call this being Zen, non-reactive, so that we can choose a better response when our mind is calm. Now I'd like to close the practice with the awareness of your body, noticing where your feet are placed, and feel free to move your feet to a more comfortable position. Where your hands are placed, and if the hands are clenched or relaxed and open. Noticing the bum on the chair or your body lying on the bed if you are lying down. Sensing into your shoulders, your face, and being aware of your body from head to toes. Feeling your body lengthening as you may sit more upright. Sensing into the span of your shoulders, your arms to your fingertips, and just being fully aware of your own presence. The space your body is taking up in the room. And aware of this body's breathing. And focusing on 3 more beautiful breaths. And slowly opening your eyes. Okay. So how you feel after that practice? I hope it's relevant to some of you out there. So I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions, please post them under the Q&A bubble. So I do have one question already that I'm going to look at. And the question is, when you get hurt by a loved one, how do you still show love or being caring in action or conversation? So this is where this practice is very useful, to let go of the narrative in the mind that is judging the conversation or the action or the person that is involved. It is that narrative that continues to perpetuate the emotion of anger, hurt, resentment. And it is not helpful because it just gets our whole body and our mind into a state of reactivity. And there is this instinct within us that we want to even things out. We want to hit back or get back at that person. And if we keep doing this, then our sense of vindictiveness will grow. And as we all know that vindictiveness doesn't give us any happiness. It probably will erode more of the happiness that whatever is left. So if we can calm our mind down, build our mind up with resilience of being at ease with whatever happens, then we have the clarity of mind to choose a better response. Usually somebody who is very hurtful in their words or actions, it's because he or she is in pain. There's a lot of anger in that person. There's a lot of resentment in that person. And we just happen to be the punching bag. So when we are composed, we're grounded, then we can be more creative in our response that will actually help the situation instead of worsening the situation. And sometimes by not saying anything or doing anything to retaliate and just having that insight and understanding that person is in a lot of pain. And just let that moment go by. And maybe in the future, maybe a near future or distant future, when the time and place is right, then perhaps we can reach out to that person and ask a question like, are you feeling very unhappy? Did I do something that made you angry? And just let the person express himself or herself and just listen without being defensive. And just understand where he or she is coming from, his way of thinking, his way of processing, his way of maybe having misread a situation or even misinterpreted what you said. And this would be more helpful in the long run if the relationship is important to you. Thank you for that very good question. Okay, the next question from Susan. When you have a few mini breakups in a relationship, is this good? My fear that these will finally lead to a permanent breakup. So I'm assuming that you mean that you have a boyfriend and you've had a few occasions that you had broken up. Well, it's a good time to reflect as to what brought about the breakups. Most of the time, what I have seen is arguments because two people have stopped being able to discuss issues in a calm and collected manner and focusing on what the issues are and reaching out to understand where that person is coming from instead of making judgmental statements, which can be very hurtful, like, oh, you're so selfish, you only think of yourself, you know, you're so stingy. So these kind of statements would just be very hurtful to the person, just as when we hear such statements towards us, because we may have been hurtful in terms of our action in the moment, but it doesn't make us a horrible person. Or if we are not willing to buy something because we don't think that there's good value in it, and someone turns around and says, oh, you're so stingy, then, you know, we feel very hurt because we feel judged. So it's better to focus on the issue, speak about the issue and say, hey, why is it that you don't want to buy that thing? You know, do you think it's not worth the money, or you just don't feel like that thing is of value? So how we speak usually makes a difference to whether we end up being able to understand each other better, or we just end up criticizing each other. And when we end up criticizing each other, that usually leads to very unpleasant outcomes. So I hope that helps, Susan. But whether it leads to a permanent breakup, it's not something that is predictable. It depends on now how you respond to the situation, how you both bring the relationship to a different level. Okay, the next question from Sharon. What if the hurt comes from your own mother when you are already past 50 and it's relentless, regardless of how many times you try to love? There is no doubt she loves me, but why are her words hurtful? Well, I think there is a possibility that it has become habitual for your mother to speak that way, because for any change to happen requires us to be mindful, to have the awareness in order to be able to stop those words from rolling out of our tongue, even though the thoughts may have come up in our mind. So when you are upset or angry, you would probably notice that there are many thoughts that just come up, and these thoughts are usually quite piercing or nasty. And if we have the presence of mind, that mindfulness, we just don't speak those words. We just let those narratives come up and then just let them disappear, because that's what happened to thoughts. But if your mom doesn't have that mindfulness to process, to hold the words in, then they would just roll out of the tongue, and then it becomes habitual. That's why more people are taking mindfulness courses, in order to build this awareness so that we can change some of our habits that have not been helpful in our life, in our relationships. Because so much of our happiness and also emotional baggage comes from dysfunctional relationships, right? So when we have a better control of our speech, our actions, we would therefore have better outcomes, more happiness. So I hope that is helpful, Sharon, and you can post another question if there's a follow-up. Hi, Fiona. Your question here is, what are other practical techniques to calm and stop negative narrative in our minds? So doing daily mindfulness practice helps to strengthen the mind. And this means that it actually has a new level or heightened level of awareness, so that we're able to pause and let that moment pass, to be aware of how this body is so tensed up, that we're in this fight or flight mode that is all about survival. But in life, it's no longer just about survival. It is about building good relationships. And you would notice that people who are more chill, less reactive, more cool and calm have better relationships than people who are reactive, easily angered, volatile. So you can see the benefits of being calm and the cons of being emotional or reactive. Okay, the next question here is, my job is causing me a lot of stress and I'm already picking up mindfulness to help me cope. What else would you recommend? Well, the good news is I am going to be conducting a course, which is not usually offered to the public, called the Mindfulness for Enhanced Performance, which will be starting June 16th, and it'll be held at the Grand Hyatt. So it's a on-site course for better effectiveness, and it's going to be from 6:30 to 8:45. It's 4 lessons, and it's only $250, and you can use your SkillsFuture credits to pay for the course. So you may wish to continue your mindfulness journey, as what you have learned needs to be reinforced. It's like, you know, if you pick up a new skill, whether it's a musical instrument or playing a sport, after 4 lessons, if you don't continue to practice and you don't go on to another course or another level of playing, then you may not actually progress as well. Okay. Thank you, Sharon, for your follow-up question here. Can we be the only punching bag amongst all the siblings when I'm the only child living with her, but not anymore? Open communication didn't work, tried that, got even worse. Well, then in that case is to create that space, as you have kindly done for yourself, to not live together anymore, and allow your mom to have time and space to reflect on her actions and the way she conducts herself. I suspect that she may have a lot of unhappiness in her life and things that she can't let go from the past. So these rumination of these events would just keep making her very angsty and difficult to be with, because her body and her mind are very often stressed. So I'm not sure whether it's possible, but it would be great if she can actually take up a mindfulness course. We do have Chinese version as well, and there are courses starting in June. So see if you can offer it to her as a gift. And for seniors, it's only 20%, and can also claim SkillsFuture. Okay, so on to the next question, Carol. If your loved one talks bad about your parents, it is difficult to calm down. I feel very, very hurt that I tend to hate him at times. I can relate to that, and it is hurtful. What's important is for us to respond in a skillful manner, and it might not sit very well when you hear it for the first time, but I'm going to suggest to you to compliment his parents. So hate doesn't get healed with more hate. It only gets healed with care and kindness. So try complimenting his parents and see what happens, because if you can start seeing the good in his parents and you highlight that, then he may start seeing your parents in a different light and start seeing their strengths and good points. Okay, the next question here from Sophie. If I always feel that close one around me is not recognizing my effort, how should I change my mindset to build my resilience? Thank you for that question. Perhaps you may wish to mention to this close one, says, do you think that what I'm doing is actually something that you appreciate? Or am I doing things that you feel that I shouldn't be doing? Because unless you let me know, it is hard for me to really have a good sense. Because sometimes people are just not very good in expressing how they feel, especially when they may have grown up in a family that people don't usually express appreciation. The only times when they express themselves is when something is not right. And it's also the case that when people have been around each other for a while, they tend to think that the other person knows. It's like almost, like, oh, that person is psychic, right? He should know, or she should know. She should know I appreciate her. But that's not always the case. In fact, none of us is a psychic. So sometimes bringing that to that person's awareness is very helpful, so that a person can clarify, or maybe, yeah, he may be taking you for granted, and now it's a time for him to be much more self-aware. Thank you, Gloria, for your question on any guidance on raising happy children. Yes, be a happy mom, then you will have happy children. So work on your own happiness, uplift yourself, and then when you're happy, you will be contagious in sharing your happiness, and your children will learn from you on how to be happy, because we can't raise happy children if we're miserable and we're complaining and criticizing. Okay, Susan, have you heard of gaslighting? Ex-President Trump is a big one in relationship that's very hurtful and traumatic. Well, I have to admit, I don't know what gaslighting is, so I can't answer the question, but perhaps you may wish to explain that. Okay, Sophie, would appreciate your advice. How do I train my concentration in learning new subjects? So some of us have minds that are not able to focus for long periods of time, and that is very normal. You notice that for people to just sit and focus on a breath, how quickly after a few breaths, the mind just kind of goes somewhere else. So take regular pauses when you notice that, oh, okay, my mind can't focus anymore. It's not to force it, and just to pause, take a few breaths, or, go get a drink or drink a glass of water if it's next to you, and then continue. Okay, next question from Allison. How do I know how much to compromise with my partner in the relationship? After all, it cannot be one-sided, yes. Well, I hope that relationships is not about compromising, but coming to mutual understanding and having a contract. Okay, sometimes the contract may not be spoken, but sometimes it needs to be spoken as to how we share our responsibilities and how to share our housework, the duties that have to be done. So a lot of times when people are courting, these are things that are not on top of their minds, but when they get married, then it's like, oh, where's the romance, right? The romance been overtaken by chores. by duties and responsibilities that never existed before. And sometimes they can really kill a romance. So having an open conversation and says, hey, shall we list down the list of all the chores we have to do? And let's decide on who does what and what frequency. And this is how we build up good communication. Okay, so I hope you can use practical techniques like this, and this is more possible when our mind is calm and we're not emotional and we're not feeling indignant, because this sort of sentiment doesn't help in good communication. Okay, so another question here, anonymous person. I am finding it hard to be patient with a very slow and long-winded elderly, especially since I'm very busy. Okay, so maybe one day when we grow old, we may also turn out to be slower and also become long-winded. And this boils down to a lack of awareness of the person. And sometimes even, we're younger and we're not aware of how we speak or how we grate on somebody or how we end up making someone feel without the intention of doing so. So this person is probably not aware and is to be sitting down and says, okay, I'm going to give her 5 minutes to say everything she wants to say. And 5 minutes of your time is not a lot, is it? And just listen, because sometimes the reason why they go on and on is because they think you're not listening. So they feel that they have to say some more and repeat. And then it kind of goes into a vicious circle. So try a different method. I don't know whether you've taken mindfulness-based stress reduction. There's a whole class lesson. And also it's going to be in my mindfulness for enhanced performance course on communication. So if we can change the way we communicate, we will change the quality of our relationship. Okay, another question here from Susan. Do you have any tips on improving intimacy? Well, when is the last time you went up to the person and give a kiss, or just give a massage, or just give a hug? So these are little actions that really speak louder than words, especially towards men who actually like physical contact. So it is up to you to initiate it instead of waiting. And when you have that gentle touches during the day, it's more likely to lead to more intimacy in the evening. Okay, Sophie, could you send us the link or name of the course for the seniors and performance? Okay, I'm going to type it here for you. So this is the course name. Starting 16 June. Sorry. You can go into Eventbrite and search for the course, and you should be able to register for it. I don't have the direct link. The course for the seniors, you can actually get them to do the Mindfulness Foundation course, which is 4 lessons. Okay. Yes. Okay. So another question here. Kailing, yes, nice to know that you're online with me again. Regarding the issue of hurt, how do we stop our minds from ruminating on the past incidents? Is it possible to forgive and forget? Okay, so people who forgive doesn't mean you need to forget, because sometimes it's good not to forget so that you don't let yourself to be in that situation again and get hurt again. So forgiving is a gift that we actually give ourselves. So it's to be able to put aside all that indignant feelings towards what happened. And this is the judgment, like, oh, he's so mean. He shouldn't have done that. He should have known. I can't believe that, he's this sort of person. And these are the kind of narratives that don't allow us to forgive. Instead, it's like, wow, the guy just doesn't know what he's doing. He is what he is. That's why the foundation attitude of acceptance, it's very powerful to say, well, that's just the way he is. It's like, if you buy a dog and the dog barks, well, you can't be upset the dog barks, because that's what a dog does. If you didn't want barking, then you should have bought a cat. So if this person has a certain nature, if you can accept it, then you make peace with it. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, we're running over time, I think, but okay, so 2 more questions here. How do I cope with my own anxieties when my staff doesn't want to do what I would need them to do? Have you sat them down and have a conversation with them and says, is there any obstacle or any reason why you don't wish to do this work? Because sometimes they may just be unhappy, or they are not being respectful, and it's good to find out why they're feeling that way. It could have been something that may have been said to them, or something that was done that has made them feel less than cooperative. So come for the course. I think you might learn a few tips that might be practical. Okay, another question is, what's the fastest way not to be triggered by irritating people? First of all, is to not call them irritating people. Because people are actually not of a label, right? They may have, they may say things that may irritate you, but that doesn't make the person irritating. Just as there's no such thing as a difficult customer. There may be customers that give you some difficulties because they're challenging you or pushing boundaries, but that doesn't make the person difficult. So there's no such thing as a difficult person or a difficult customer. It's just that we have difficult moments because we don't know how to handle it. So we got to up our skill in order to respond better, to meet the expectations or handle the needs of the person, even though you may not be able to fulfill what they demand. Okay, and wow, okay. The last question here I'm going to take is, I'm getting very well with his parents. He just doesn't like my parents from the start of marriage. Okay, so the question is, can you accept it that he doesn't like your parents? And as long as you don't have this need, desire or demand that he likes your parents, and you can accept it, then it's no longer an issue. So that is what the power of acceptance is, because if it's something you can't change and you want to force it, that just makes everything very tough. So if you just let things be, accept it. It's like someone says, I don't like to eat curry. And says, no, you must eat curry because I like curry. Then, it's just gonna be contentious and you're just gonna have argument at the table. So if you cook curry and the person doesn't like curry, doesn't eat the curry, fine, I'll eat it. Yeah, so you continue to love your parents, to be grateful to them. They are your parents. So without expecting him to do the same. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And I've run past the time again by another 15 minutes. So I hope this session has been useful to you, and I'll see all of you again on Monday. I think we have probably just 2 more sessions that I will be doing before end of phase 2. So in the meantime, we're delighted to be supporting you. And I hope you have signed up for the Asia Pacific Mindfulness Conference. If you haven't, please don't hesitate, and do support us by signing up for the workshop. It's only $144 now, as there's a 40% discount. And also the courses that are very helpful to you, invest in them, because change can only happen if you put in the effort and have the awareness to make the change. So with that, a very good afternoon and have a great day ahead of you. You only have today once, so live it well. Bye-bye.